As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission, I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain, keep on working, open curtains. Haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up, fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah.
You're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show on WNHH-LP 103.5 FM, your home for community radio.
Where is our sphere of influence and our locus of control? And that's the purpose of today's kind of session. And Deshaun's going to kick us off, and then Kevin, I'll kind of lean on you. Want to start in like 1 minute, and then we could be joined by George DeYoung and Larry Stewart and Fred McKinney as well. But as they say, whenever two or three are gathered, it's worth kind of taking that leap of faith. Deshaun, without further ado, let's kind of maximize our next 50 or 55 minutes, and then we can kind of just rock and roll. And Kevin, I'll kind of lean on you next to kind of share for 5 minutes, and folks, and then as folks kind of join us, I know CP Larry Stewart is also going to kind of share with us some of his perspectives. And we hear this phrase about CP time, but I've turned that to Sankofa time, right? Where we look at the past, the present, and the future, and kind of center ourselves in the moment. So, Deshaun, let's kick off, and we're out of the locker room and on the playing field.
Well, thank you very much. And again, thank you very much for the invitation. Always great to be here with a group of great gentlemen. So kicking it off, I know it was something this has become something that I've been becoming more focused into. When you start to get a little bit older, you have children, you start to look at certain things, and our topic of health comes up. I know I was having a conversation with my father-in-law. I was like, we live a lot longer nowadays, and are we going to just live longer? Or are we going to try to maximize those years? So in this space, I've been looking at and looking up the term holistic health. And holistic health is more about taking a holistic approach to your health. It's not just looking at the symptoms. It's looking at the whole person. So in that, you look at the definition of the word health from the World Health Organization. It means that a person is healthy in physical, mental, and social areas. Mm-hmm. And then it could be broken down a little further. So then it says you have good well-being. So when I look at the word well-being, what does that mean? It means, are you completely comfortable and happy in your space? So if you look at that from the standpoints of health, if somebody asks you, are you healthy? Are you completely comfortable? And are you completely happy with all areas of health? And how I would look at it to kick it off is there's 8 dimensions of health that I look at. Some people combine a couple of them together, but I like to separate them. And those 8 dimensions are your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, your nutritional health, spiritual health, social health, financial health, and environmental health. So if I look at it that way, and you ask me this question, Deshaun, are you healthy? I would go, okay, well, let's look at that. Mentally, I personally think I am as mentally healthy as I can be. I think I am completely comfortable. I'm completely happy. A bad day is not a bad day to me. It's just the opportunity for me to have a better. So those are some of the things that I look at. I don't have things that affect me. Mental health, if something happens here, it doesn't affect me overall. So I think I have very, very good mental health. So I would say, yes, I'm very happy and comfortable there. Emotional health could be a little better. I know sometimes I get a little bit more angry about stuff that I shouldn't, but overall, I'm pretty comfortable and happy with my emotional health, especially the fact that I'm realizing and understanding the emotional health side of it. So I am there. Physical health, no. The reason why is I used to be an athlete. I used to be able to do certain things. And now that I have kids, when I make certain moves, the body doesn't feel the same way it used to. I literally stopped playing sports and activities in 2015. After I had my first child and going into the second one, I realized I wasn't there enough for them because I was trying to do athletics. So I kind of gave it up. And since then, the back hurts a little bit more. I go out to play with them. It doesn't feel well. So if somebody was to ask me, am I perfectly comfortable and happy physical health? No, I don't work out enough. I don't exercise enough. And that's one of the things that those things can prevent most chronic diseases. So I definitely need to improve there. Nutritional health. Me personally, I'm a vegan. I've been a vegan since 2000. 24 years I've been a vegan. My nutritional health is pretty good. I eat really well, eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, and for a human being, you need to have a lot of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds in your diet. That's just how it's supposed to be. If you have all of that, you can add the other things in. So I think I'm pretty good there. Spiritual health could be better. Definitely a spiritual person, believe in God. I just don't read my Bible enough. I don't do the things that should be done, so I could be better there. Am I completely comfortable and happy? No. Do I feel like I'm like bad? No, but it could be better. Social health. I would say yes, because I'm more of an introverted person. I don't really like to hang out too much and go places, but some people say you need to have those abilities, have those comforts. But meeting with you gentlemen now, it's starting to be a little bit different. You can have this space, but could it be better? Yes. But for me, I am completely comfortable and happy. So I'm happy. My wife would say you don't talk to many people, but I am happy. My financial health, anybody can always say can be better, but the difference is I can take care of my family and still have money left over. So I am happy. That's why I would say that. If I was living paycheck to paycheck and just having to wait to get another paycheck to take care of them, then I wouldn't be as happy. But financially, yes. Environmental, this last area I look at, it's a lot better. I used to live in a house where we had mold here or these things here that causes health issues. I used to live in a place where there's a lot of noise and stuff. I moved to a different place, have a different home now, and live in an environment where I'm well. The job that I have is pretty well. I don't have stress like most people where they just don't like to go to work. So my environmental health is pretty well. So if I look at these 8 areas overall, I would say I'm about a 60 to 65% healthy. Now, could that be better? Yes. So that's why I look at it that way, as how I break down my values of health.
And everyone, don't feel. I asked Deshaun to kind of kick us off, just to really share what you did. That's an excellent job of the various categories, and so don't feel you have to respond to each of those, because if we just talked about physical health, with that for me that would be like a 5-hour conversation as it is. And Brother Stewart, welcome, and Brother Gary Monk, good to see you as well. We're going to go with Kevin State next, and kind of the procedure is, Deshaun has kind of kicked us off to kind of paint the landscape. Kevin's going to kind of share his own perspective for the next 5 minutes. And then Larry, I'll kind of lean on you to kind of share as well with your 5-minute kind of commentary, and Deontay as well, Deontay Dunlop. So Brother Staten, Kevin Staten, you're up.
Thank you so much, Tom, for having this forum, and thank you, Deshaun, for sharing. I just really think this is very necessary, and not just for people that are of a certain age, but especially for the younger generation. So in taking that perspective, what I did with mine was I wrote a letter to myself from 1994, 30 years ago. And my letter to myself is, no, I am not okay. And so this is just going to be from all those 8 perspectives, things that I wish somebody would have told me at this point, and the impact now. So first, with the physical, dear self, your metabolism is through the roof, but that's going to change dramatically in the next 15 to 20 years. Your workouts have to shorten because you need to focus on your diet. It's really going to come down to what you eat, not how hard you exercise. And you need to stay consistent with your physicals as a Black man, but you also need to talk to people in your family about what runs in your family. High blood pressure is coming for you. And you need to understand that the days where you used to joke with your buddies about your numbers on the basketball court is going to turn into you talking about your blood pressure, cholesterol, and sugar numbers. That's going to become a priority. So from the physical aspect, that's what you need to take care of yourself. Make sure you treat yourself, but understand that eating healthy should really be a lifestyle. When you treat yourself, it should actually be a treat. And, you don't treat yourself every day. Number two, the mental part. You don't just need somebody to talk to, but you need a professional that can help you develop coping mechanisms. The politics and religious beliefs of the person you select are things you need to consider. I think that one of the things people do with Black men and therapy is people say Black men don't go to therapy or Black men don't want to go to therapy. Well, really what it is Black men are very careful about who we allow in our safe spaces. And so even in dealing with someone that's a therapist, I know for me, I need to consider how you feel about Black men. I don't care about your race, your gender, your sexual orientation. If you have some kind of negative baggage towards Black men, then I need to find somebody in terms of something as serious as therapy and opening myself up. I need to find somebody that respects that. You can't be healed by someone who's diseased with contempt towards you. My third one, emotional. Stress and rage are lethal combinations. Pay very close attention to your support system. Sometimes the people you call your friends can turn overnight. And to focus on your personal growth, because as you grow, it'll really show you who your friends are, because your friends want you to grow and your friends grow with you. In relationships, talking to the younger me, please give yourself time to reflect and heal, and don't just take the on to the next one attitude in terms of dating. If you don't, you may throw away the Michelle Obama and wind up marrying your worst enemy. Please listen to me. You have no idea. If you want to talk about child support payment, Hawaii's number 1, Maryland's number 2, and coming in hard at number 3 is Connecticut. Trust me, bro. Number 4, spirituality. You know, as a theologian, Tom, this is my wheelhouse. You really need to know the difference between being religious versus being a person of faith. And I'll tell you the difference. A religious person says that their beliefs dictate their behavior. So they come at you, I'm an apostle, I'm a prophet, I'm a pastor, I'm a bishop. And you're supposed to look at that first instead of their behavior. Doesn't work that way. A person of faith approaches you from the perspective that my behavior shows you what I believe. So for me as a Christian, the greatest compliment is when somebody in the grocery store or something like that is like, oh, are you a Christian? I can tell by the way you carry yourself or by the way you treat, people around you. Galatians 5:22 and 23, fruits of the Spirit, that's my foundation. I always look at people from that perspective. Are you loving? Are you joyful? Are you peaceful? Are you kind? Those qualities. If that's not what you have, then I don't really care about all those titles and all that other stuff. Number 5, socially. Don't confuse being an introvert with being somebody who just doesn't do well around foolishness. Socialize in your own terms, on ways that you feel comfortable. There are people out there that like things you like. You just have to find it. Number 6, occupational. Whew. For me as a teacher, I would be telling myself, you're going to represent 2% of all teachers. That's Black males. I wish I could prepare you for all the hostility you're going to deal with in the workplace. And in all honesty, your goal is to not internalize that. 30 years later, you are going to have PTSD. Because they like to say that saying, you got to pick your battles. Well, guess what? As I can tell you, as a Black male teacher, the battle's going to pick you. And for most of us that in the workplace, the battle picks us. Is how we deal with that.
Brother Kevin, we're reaching the 9th inning on your end.
Okay, I'm almost done. Environmental, just make sure your house is a place of peace. When you're dating, If you meet a lady who thinks peace and stability makes you boring, that's telling you everything you need to know right there. And with health, as Deshaun alluded to, just workplace stress, that's going to be your biggest adversary. Just make sure you have some kind of exercise plan or some way to relieve that stress in a positive manner so it doesn't eat you alive. That's it.
Excellent. Gary and Larry and Sam, again, the procedure is Deshaun has kind of kicked us off, and Kevin has, as you've just heard, his rendition, and I'm going to ask Brother Larry Stewart to kind of share next, and then after like a half hour, so after everybody's had a chance to weigh in for 5 minutes, then we'll kind of pick up on any comments or reflections, and this total experience will be for like another 40 minutes. Larry, let me unmute you, and glad you could join us. Larry was kind enough to kind of remind me that I hadn't sent the that I hadn't sent the Zoom link to him, so I'm glad he reminded me yesterday to do that.
They all set, Tom?
All set, sir, and good to see you. I know with your Marine Corps background, I know you got a lot to share, so I'll put you on blast right at the beginning.
Well, okay. Well, that was a good start, Tom. I want to thank you guys for inviting me into this group. But yes, I was a Marine. Well, they say you wasn't a Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. And I was an officer in the Marine Corps, which during that time there were less than 300 Black officers in the Marine Corps. So that within itself was a quite a good experience. And I was also in a recon unit, which is sort of like the Navy SEAL equivalent, the Marine Corps equivalent to like the Navy SEAL. So there's a discipline type thing in there. And I believe in discipline because I came from a family of people who are disciplined, a spiritual family, a well close-knit family. I was educated in Catholic school. I'm from Baltimore originally, so that sort of like goes hand in hand growing up in Baltimore. To the point, I just share a quick story. When I went to camp, the drill instructor was getting in my face and says, I mean, there's nothing you can really do for me. I mean, as far as like discipline and intimidation, I said, I grew up with a very strict mother and father and a family. I was educated in Catholic school, and I went to all-boy public school. So, I mean, how much more discipline you need? But I think Deshaun kicked it off very well in saying the 5 things that I typically base my life on and have based my life on has been reinforced through my family. I'm big on family, I'm sure as everyone else is. Extended family. I mean, I go back, my family now in Baltimore is like 8 generations. But it all starts, well, not necessarily in this order, but your mental capacity is real key. And your mental capacity is based on, I believe, the first 7 years of your life. It's basic psychology or sociology, where how you're indoctrinated into the world through your family, through your friends, by having a strong mental capacity, and morally, because they sort of develop that whole mental capacity through what kind of morals they have. And I'm sure all of you can relate to just growing up in America, being a Black male. Your morals at times are tested in one way or the other. But one thing, the morals that I always remember from my family was that we never really looked into like fitting into the white power structure, because that's not necessarily the standard that we want to live to. We try to establish our own power structure and our own standards of living, which was good. I mean, you get the basics out of that, but then you expand on yourself and expand your family to the not only your internal family, but to the family of men and the family of women, particularly the African American community. And a spiritual base is a real key factor for me in my life. I'm not a practicing Catholic right now, but I mean, I still believe in the Judeo-Christian way of life, is love thy neighbor as thyself. And that's a real strong and physical. I've always been a real physical person. I mean, I've done endurance races. I mean, I just turned 71, and up until 3 years ago, I was doing the 5 borough bike tour in New York.
That's right. That's right.
Which is a 40-mile bike tour. Because I believe, for me, my roommate in college once said, "A bored Larry Stewart is the worst thing you can have," and I need to express myself physically in order to maintain a certain balance. And it also, I think, by having that physical balance, it expands my mind. It relaxes me. It takes away stress. And it also by staying in good physical condition, your body automatically tells you that you need to eat better, because you cannot be in physical condition and by eating bad food or like drinking or doing alcohol or doing drugs, things like that. Your body automatically tells you and rejects those things that are not good for you. And in America, I always say is a financial. You have to be financially secure or financially sound in America. I always kid people. I started working at 6 years old. I came from a family of 5. And I've been an entrepreneur. I've been in my own business for over 40 years, which leads me to the whole thing of which I've been focusing on the last, I guess, like 10 years of my life is purpose. You know, is finding what is my purpose in life. You know, because I firmly believe that God put everyone here for a particular reason. I don't think God put us here to be a drug addict or alcoholic or anything that's a bad person. He put us here for a reason. And so it's everyone's potential to find out what their purpose in life is, which can be a very challenging thing to find out what your purpose in life is. And which led me to the study of like mindfulness. So the last 3 years, I've been just focusing on things like what mindfulness is. And I'll tell you a quick story too. I read this book on mindfulness, which I'll share with you real quick. It was this book right here. It's coming in backwards. It's called Meditation for Fidgety Skeptics by Dan Harris. And I was training for the 5 borough bike tour. And usually it's like I would come home the next day and I would just feel like somebody just beat me with a bag of nickels. But then I started reading this book on mindfulness, and mindfulness essentially is putting you in the space of where you are now, you know, and being purposeful for where you are now. And I think about what's going on in the back, or not what's going to think in the future. Just be in the moment. Which is very difficult. It was very difficult for me to do that. So anyway, so I started studying this whole thing about mindfulness, and I've focused it on. I said, well, this whole process takes 12 hours. I get on the train in New Haven at 5 o'clock in the morning. And more than likely, I'm back in New Haven at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And so I had projected and I had manifested me going through that entire race, that whole entire course. It's not a race, it's a tour, entire course, because I've been through it 3 times before that. And I remember the times that were difficult. I remember where the areas where I had to go up hills and down hills, and when I was tired. And so I had focused on that, and I had projected that, and I had mentally created that whole 12-hour period to the point where I was even back in my house taking a shower and like celebrating by having a steak and a martini. and then I woke up the next day and I had forgotten that I did the tour, and my body wasn't in any pain at all. It was just like I just woke up the next day and just went for a walk. It was that discipline, that mental and physical discipline that got me to that point. And so lately, I've just been reading books on like mindfulness and like spirituality, and try to like, how can I improve not only myself, but how I can improve the world around me. So I try to look at it from not only my family perspective, my personal perspective, but how I can improve the world around me. And the things I try to do to the world around me is like I try to do things locally with people, you know, in the city of New Haven, and in the work I do, because I mean. I'm 71. Everybody says, "Well, you're gonna retire." Work. It's not work to me. It's a lifestyle. You know, it's what I found as my purpose, because I really enjoy it. I felt like it's my talent, so I feel like I really enjoy that. Another book,
Larry, you're in the 9th inning, and
okay, 9th inning. Okay,
you're in the 9th inning, and I have a question to ask you also, but go ahead.
Okay, so go ahead and ask me the question. I think I said enough.
Brother Sam, Brother Stewart went to, correct me if I'm wrong, Larry, Baltimore City College, Baltimore
I
your high
did.
school.
Yeah, I was.
And
Is Sam?
Sam Stevenson, I believe we know somebody called Greg and somebody called Smiley.
Oh, you're kidding. Sam, you went to City? Greg went to Bucknell, as did Smiley.
And so where did Sam and I go?
You guys went to Bucknell.
And so we saw them when they came. We were there.
Okay.
We were there to kind of extend the right hand of fellowship to them.
Okay. They were 2 years ahead of me, but that's the City College graduate. Those guys.
All right. So we'll come back to that in the end and kind of lift up Greg's. I'm not sure if Smiley is still alive, but I know Greg has passed away. And again, not on a somber note, but people ask me why have I decided to kind of bring the Mighty Gents together? Because yeah, we got to honor ourselves and honor the legacy and honor our.
You never told me that, Tom. I didn't know you knew Greg and Smiley.
All right. So again, we'll come back to that. But Brother Deontay. Brother Dunlap.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. Thank y'all for having me. I was excited about joining this group and, being able to talk with y'all. So I'll get right to it. I took a different approach. I did come up with some talking points, but thinking about the 8 areas that Deshaun brought up earlier, if I were to look at all of those across the board, I would say I'm averaging at about 85% across the board. I'm not perfect, but I'm doing okay. I have no complaints. I'm not a complainer, right? That's something that I just don't do. And as Brother Larry mentioned earlier, it all starts up here. It all starts in the mind. Where this begins, everything else cascades from there. So where you put your mind is where everything else is going to naturally follow, right? That's why they say mind over matter, mind over matters, pluralizes, so it all begins here. And so, and where I got that, so I spent about 20 years of my life as a practicing martial artist. I fought for several years as an amateur fighter, and I learned how to focus. But not just focus, but to be really compartmentalized in how I focused. And so when you're training for a fight, when you're training for a specific opponent, you train for specific habits, traits, patterns, and things of that nature. So you don't focus on everything, but you focus on certain things at a time. And that's how I've generally learned to direct my life. So when we're talking about just using the 8 areas that Deshaun brought up, if I'm satisfied, if I'm doing fine in one area, then I'll focus in on another area, because I always start with the mental. If I'm not good mentally, I'm not going to be good anywhere else, because the mental, it leads into the emotional, the physical, and everything else, because how you think controls how you eat, it controls how you behave, it controls your sleep, so it controls everything. So I'm very keen on keeping my mental condition intact and up to par. So that's where I start with everything. And again, I take that holistic approach, right? I'll look at the system as a whole, and then if the system is looking good, I'll start to tweak and hone in on specific areas. And that way I'm not trying to do everything at once, right? And so, and from that fighter's mindset, I've learned to, again, take everything a piece at a time, right? Like when I teach someone how to box, I start with how they step before I teach them how to punch. And once they get the step right, if I know they can close distance right, then I can get them, okay, now this is how you extend your punch. And so I work those pieces together to create a big puzzle. And so that's the way I look at everything, right? I try to take each individual piece and hone it to fit right into the puzzle. And so, and again, I take a systematic approach, right? And so the first thing I do is I'm honest with myself. You can't correct what you don't confront. If you're lying to yourself saying, oh, I'm 100%, my life is great. But when you're alone, you're crying, you're stressed out, and you can't seem to get yourself together. You can't get your body to regulate. And so, when you start from that place of honesty, you start a foundation, and you can't build a house on a foundation of sand, right? And you get to recognize your own complacency. What am I lying to myself about? What am I telling myself I'm good at, but that I can actually be better? Am I, just because I have that salad twice a week don't really mean I have a really good diet. It just means I have a salad twice a week, right? So, it's again, recognizing those areas of complacency. And another thing I do is I challenge my own thoughts and feelings. I try not to be my own counsel, but when I find because I'm a introvert. I'm by myself most of the time. If I'm not with my wife, I'm usually by myself. And so I picked up a habit of being my own counsel. And over time, I've found the detriments, the downfalls from being your own counsel, because you don't challenge yourself. You think that, oh, that voice becomes right. You think you're right all the time. And so I picked up a habit of challenging those things, and not just challenging my thoughts, but challenging how I feel, because how you feel isn't always real. Right? You can feel some way, but your life doesn't reflect that. You may feel depressed, but your life may not really support that. You might have everything going good for you, but you might deal with some depression, right? So you have to, again, it's being honest with yourself, and it's confronting that. And again, it's staying grounded with what's important. I learned an acronym a while back called WIN. What's important now? So when I find myself scattered, I ask myself, okay, if I want to win, I have to focus on what's important now. What's important right now. Another thing I practice often is not taking anything personal. That has been the greatest gift to me, especially in my social undertakings. Most people are in their own world. They're not even considering other people or how they make other people feel. And once you understand that and realize, hey, they're not doing this because of me. They're just in their own world. They're oblivious to everything else going on around them. And self-awareness is what I've learned, that self-awareness is a very rare thing to find in people. So being aware, respond, I never react. I always ask clarifying questions. What do you mean by that? And then last but not least, we were talking about control. Self-control is the best control. I feel like that is the best, greatest display of power is control. And the best control to have is self-control. Next, I simplify. I find out the why behind the why. I get down to the heart of the matter. And then when I get down to the heart of the matter, I set my milestones, because little steps make big ones. I write things down, and I put them somewhere where I can see. I see it every day. I have a whiteboard in my bedroom. Me and my wife and I share that way. Every morning we're looking at our goals every day. Excellent. And I can never forget them. And I find and develop tools that can help myself, that can make my life easier. You know, if I'm balancing my budget, I build an Excel spreadsheet that does all my calculations for me. So I'm not figuring out where my money's at every month. So I know my financial health. And one of the most important things that I've learned, I turned 43 this year. One of the greatest things that I've learned as a man, and I think this is something as men that we struggle with, is a simple notion of asking for help. You know, putting out that SOS, hey, I need you, I need some help. And so these are some of the things, these are some of the strategies and tactics that I personally use to keep myself grounded and again, make sure that I'm firing on all cylinders in those 8 areas. Because you can be doing great some places and not in others. But if you're complacent or you lie to yourself, you'll never get down to those things. And I read a book that said, if you chase a person that chases 2 rabbits will catch neither. So you got to set your sights and be surgical. And I try my best not to do shotgun approaches to anything in life. I try to be very surgical, very deliberate in how I go about anything, because how you do some things is how you do everything. And so that's how I try to direct my life, direct myself. Again, I challenge myself mentally all the time. I challenge myself emotionally all the time. So, and I think if it starts with you, if you're your hardest critic, if you're in tune with your star player, I think those areas in life will naturally fall into place, because you won't let yourself slip. And if you can catch yourself, your village will catch you too.
Gary, I hadn't reached out to you prior in terms of your actually presenting, but it seems to me, and I've seen you in various settings, so I know you're able to kind of share a few words with us. And guess when I'm just looking at you, my mind goes back to when you came before the Aldermanic Committee for the various commissions that you're on, not to mention the Monk family and the legacy here in New Haven, and even just as importantly, your involvement with Veterans Affairs. So I guess wanted to give you a chance if you wanted to kind of take 3 or 4 minutes to react to anything that you've heard thus far.
First of all, I'd like to acknowledge everyone that's on this panel. I'd like to thank you for creating this space to communicate among ourselves and perhaps make a conversation that can continue. Having that everything happens inside of a conversation. Of course, it starts in your head, but among one another, having that conversation and we comprehend what we're communicating to each other, we can create anything and make it happen. So with that, I'm listening to everyone, and I'm just touched, moved, and inspired because you see, we don't get a chance, or we don't that often come together and talk, communicate, share our experiences and things that we see. Everyone has different perspectives on life. We have different experiences in life, and I heard everything from martial artists to other military men, educators, intellectuals, etc. You guys really light me up today. So I just want to put that out there first. Excuse me. You see, I'm a vegan as well. And I became a vegan years ago. I became a vegan so long ago I can't even remember. And I feel that it's imperative that we as a people look at what we consume. We were the first ones to experiment with different things that are edible. We know what seasons to eat it in. We know when it's poisonous. We know when it's most potent, So it's really important to remember. I mean, you just even look at your teeth right now. They're not for tearing, okay? You look at what the powers to be would have you eat to keep you sick. You're eating different animal things that are not good for you. You're eating seeds that are what they are. Seeds have nitrogen in them. So when they hit your intestines, they have an adverse effect on you. So it's important to know that your food is as well your medicine.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I fast. I'm just getting back on the boat. I'll admit it, but I fast every solstice, and the last one was June, summer solstice, and it gets you present to why you're eating, and also, of course, it puts you in your spiritual mode. Then, so you have a different consciousness than you do when you're eating. And I won't go to the left and the right. I'm just throwing a few things out.
That's great.
So, I just want you to get that where I'm sitting right now. I want to see you, young men, again. I wish we could create some kind of connectiveness between us where we can invite other brothers of like minds to join us. The world, talk about, and I'm going to talk about mental health. The world's mental health, it's suspect. It's like, wow, we are in a vacuum, so to speak, now due to technology. So we can see what they're doing. We can see what they're doing on the other side of the world instantaneously.
Just before we open it up, Gary, share with everyone, because I haven't asked folks particularly to reference their career, their background, and that's been intentional for folks just to kind of share as the spirit moves them. But I do want to put you on the spot and just share a few words about your involvement with Veterans Affairs. That's so important, and I just noticed you over the years, and it still is controversial, and folks still aren't getting their rights and their due process, if you will.
Sure, absolutely. I'm the executive director of the National Veterans Council for Legal Redress. My brother and I, Collie Monk Jr., we founded the National Veterans Council roughly 2012. When we first came together, we called ourselves the Undesirables. My brother did 2 tours of Vietnam, came back with bad papers, and couldn't get his job back at the VA. He was self-medicating. He had PTSD, and before the word was given. And so what he did was he became a drug counselor because he was doing methadone and getting himself healthy or getting himself together. And inside of that, he saw that he wanted to let people know that Vietnam veterans were not looked upon as heroes, and they fought just like World War II and any other veterans. So we are the founders of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Monument on the Long Wharf, the V that you see on the Long Wharf. We put that there. We raised over $250,000 to have that placed there. So when we initially did it, we put the veterans that would had transitioned at that time, but we were going back now to put the veterans that are alive now, because of course everyone's going to transition eventually. So we want to get them on the monument as well. We have other renderings or sketches that we want to create something different, so we won't put it on that monument. We're really looking at doing a pier. We would love to do a pier and be reflective of that V right there in front of it. Our mission really is to work with veterans to get their discharges upgraded and as well as get their benefits. There's a lot of veterans that have all kind of visible injuries as well as physical, but because of the system, they don't want to go and get their just due or get the medication or get the compensation or get the services that they need. So we're a referral organization. So we work with veterans really across the nation. But here in Connecticut, we're very powerful. I'll be quick. My brother's first plaintiff, was the lead plaintiff on the Chuck Hagel memo, which determined that anybody that has PTSD or TBI or any related diseases should be given liberal consideration to get their discharges upgraded. They won this class action back in 2013. As a result of that, it was a snowball effect. The various branches of the military has been charged to do the right thing by giving the veterans their benefits and discharge upgraded.
And Gary, I'm going to share with everyone your link also to your organization.
All right, thank you.
I'm really glad for you to mention that. Brother Sam Stevenson is here, and I see Deshaun. I see there may be like 10 things that you want to jump in on. So just hold your mule for there just for a second as we open it up for discussion, and Kevin. But Sam Stevenson, yeah, Larry. Sam and I laid eyes on one another back in 1967. So we've had a chance to kind of look. His hair was a little bit not as gray as it is now, and mine is not. I use some dye. I use more before the shows. I put on more dye, so I'll be fully transparent with you guys. But hey, we all get our vanities. Brother Sam, unmute yourself and share a little bit before we open it up.
Okay, I thought you had me muted. Actually,
I did, but I've known over the last 30, 40 years that's impossible to do on a continual basis. So you're more powerful.
First, let me say I've been impressed with everything I've heard from you brothers so far this evening. I do not know what all the 8 elements are that you were discussing, but I did take some notes on a couple of them, and I can speak to them. I think the first one that I caught was physical. And it's not so much by way of confession, but more so by way of honesty, that I will say to all of you, I am not a vegan. I am unabashedly not a vegan. I am careful with my diet, though. I don't just eat anything you place in front of me. I need to know where it came from, who prepared it, so that I have a certain level of trust. So moving on into the physical piece, I'm 73 years old. I like to tell my young cousins, my niece, most of whom call me Uncle Sam, that I'm actually on my way down the backside of the hill now. So a lot of the things that they worry about, I don't need to worry about anymore. I've kind of concluded that from a physicality standpoint, I do some exercising. I do not work out like I worked out when I was 55 or even when I was 60. When my PCP told me no more lifting weights over your head. I was done. Okay. So I continue to work out. Mostly these days, it's stretching. Stretching, very important. I stretch at least 5 to 6 times a week in the mornings. Sometimes I'll do it in the afternoons or in the evenings. And then I have a minor amount of weight training that I continue to do, along with some cardio. So there are some things that I do from a physical perspective. As Tom well knows, I play golf as often as I can. I don't play as much as I want, but I play as often as I can.
And you live relatively near a course, I believe.
This is Pittsburgh, so there are all kinds of courses.
Okay, all right.
And this place has more public golf courses than any place that is not a major golf destination. So, and that's just public courses. So I have ways of getting my physical needs met there. From a mental perspective, I'm involved in any number of activities and continue to be involved in those activities. So I get to share thoughts with brothers and sisters about many of the things that impact our communities here in the Western Pennsylvania region. I continue to be actively engaged, even though I'm retired. I've been retired for roughly 10 years, but I am engaged with a number of boards that involve the African American community, as well as certain business things that I'm engaged in, that I continue to be engaged in. I get a lot of opportunity to trade and share mental challenges through those activities. On the emotional end, I kind of go back to my childhood. And, I was raised in a single parent household from the time I was approximately 10 years old, 9, 10 years old. My parents separated. My father was deported by the time I was 13, 14. But so my mother raised my sister and I. But I'm from a large family that continues to be in contact with one another.
Excellent.
Regularly. This family has had I just came back from a family reunion about last weekend, 2 weekends ago. Okay. This family has had some form of family reunion every year of my life, with the exception of probably 3, 2 of which came during the COVID period. So I have a large extended family that I draw on for emotional support.
Excellent.
And all of you look like you're from Black families. So I think you understand the spirituality that goes into having that type of support system. Yeah. And as I've watched, particularly in my generation of the family, and we're for this particular part of my family, we're the 5th generation that we can go back from when we left the plantation and slavery. I've watched as our spirituality has blossomed and moved into other places. And it's been heartening to watch sometimes, and at other times it's been disheartening to watch.
Mm. Mm.
All the religions that we are told about are not necessarily places that I might want to step into.
Mm.
I've been raised Christian Baptist. I retain that affiliation even as of today. So on the mental side, as I said, I have a very large support system, and I think one of the things, and Tom and I have talked about this probably quite a bit over the last 6 months. As I watch some of my very close friends, and my closest friends go back to my childhood and my high school days, my closest friends, and also some to my college days, as I have a wide fraternity network as well. But as I watch us get into this period of aging that we are in now, and as I see what's happening to some of them from a physical perspective, it makes my spirituality come out even more.
Mm.
Because I don't question why God has blessed me so much, but I do wonder why God has blessed me so much, and am I really deserving?
Mm. Mm.
Now, I have a lot of friends who are also ministers, pastors, and without question, I go through that conversation with some of them sometimes.
Mm.
And I think what they lead me to believe is you must learn how to receive those blessings to continue to get them.
Mm.
So I am hoping and praying that I have done the things that I need to do to continue to receive those blessings.
Mm.
I'm not a guy that goes to church regularly. I probably go once a month, once every 2 months. But I speak to God every day.
Mm.
And I hope that what I'm hearing in my head is him speaking back. Socially, as I mentioned to you, I'm engaged in any number of things locally. I used to be engaged in things from a national perspective with regards to my profession. I'm a retired CPA. Spent a lot of years traveling back and forth any number of places doing what we do for a living. But socially, locally, I'm engaged in any number of things. And I think I have a good network through those things that I do. What I am trying to do, as I explained a little bit earlier, as I tell my younger cousins, et cetera, that I'm on the backside of the hill. I have people who call me from time to time looking for someone to do this, for someone to do that. And I think that at this point in my life and in my career, I am responsible to create as many opportunities for young Black professionals that I can.
Mm-hmm.
So when they call and they ask me, well, can you serve on this? Can you do this? Can you do that? Generally, what I'm telling them today is that I don't need the network anymore, but I know any number of young Black professionals that do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to put you together with them.
Yes.
So that you can help expand their network and create the opportunities for them that were created for me, so that they can meet their professional and emotional and spiritual goals in life.
Excellent.
So that's kind of where my
Excellent.
head is on that.
Excellent. Excellent.
As I said, I'm a retired CPA. I'm still engaged in some boards, African American Chamber of Commerce Board, we have an organization here called the Regional Industrial Development Corporation, which is responsible for creating spaces for business and industry to move into. I chair that board. I'm also involved with the board of a bank. I chair their audit committee and their community engagement committee. So I got a lot of stuff that I'm still engaged with. Needless to say, as I mentioned, also, I am a fraternity person. That Tom Ficklin guy over there, he was my line brother. So we went over together, same time, same place, same station. And I'm engaged there with the scholarship and endowment fund. So our thing there, of course, is to raise money to provide scholarships and things of that nature for African American young people who are moving from high school to a four-year college and to community college, for which we provide what we call book grants. I don't know when the last time any of you were in a classroom as a student, okay, in a college, university, or community college, but they can almost spend as much for books now as we spent for tuition back in the day. So that's my story. Again, it's been good to hear what you fellows are engaged in, how you look at life. I get a little sense of what your personal philosophies might be. I haven't heard anything this evening that I reject.
Excellent, excellent. Affirmation is important. Let's open it up for, let's, I mentioned 55 minutes, but if folks can kind of hang in there for maybe 10 more minutes, that would be great. Any comments, reflections, additional sharing that anyone would like to reveal?
Brother Dunlap, I have a question for you. Your WIN acronym?
Yes.
Does that also project to the future?
Well, it's really,
because
well,
as I listen to you say it, I was thinking that, you could also put a T on the end of that for tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of what I mentioned about setting your milestones, right? If you're looking at things from a strategic perspective, it's like, okay, what I do now determines what I could do tomorrow. So yeah, what's important now will determine what you're able to do. So yes, you're absolutely right. Because again, each step leads to the next. And I'm a firm believer, if I did the decisions I make now opens the door for the decisions I get to choose next. So yeah, so absolutely. So I'm always focused. Like I try to stay, because one of the things I deal with a lot is anxiety. And so the way my judo around my own personal anxiety is to focus on what's in front of me. Because I can't guess what's going, because if once I start formulating and postulating what's going to happen next, I get into analysis paralysis, because I'm an analyst by profession. And I'll start thinking about this, and I'm like, nope, I can't. I got to stay right here, or I'll get nowhere. And because I'll start chasing those rabbits, and I won't get any of them, and I'll be just sitting in the middle, empty-handed. So yes, but to your point, digressing to your original point, yes, what's important now does lead to what's important tomorrow.
Good.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add, I was blessed by everything that was said, but one of the things was Brother Stewart said the importance of expressing yourself physically. I had major surgery just this past May, and it was back, and I can tell you the orthopedic ward at night is like a Civil War battlefield. It was mostly men, and you just hear a lot of moaning and groaning and hitting the button for the nurses to come, and everybody's in pain. And you have to decide that you're going to get up and start walking. And it's not easy. For me, it was a very spiritual thing. I believe it's the book of John, chapter 5, where Jesus tells a man to take up his bed and walk. But as I was walking, there was a family that was, I think this is what the youngest person on the floor. I think she had been in a car accident or something. And you could tell she was devastated. Her family pointed to me and said, look, one day you're going to be able to get up like that and walk. And it was really that whole thing of like, that whole mental part, Brother Dunlap mentioned it, where it's just like all of you actually mentioned it, where you just have to decide in your mind, am I going to lay here? And my goal was to walk myself out of that, out of that ward, because it could be the difference between you being there a week versus a month. So I just really wanted to commend everybody on the panel, because you all, mentioned that aspect where you really have to make some decisions. And it's, as an educator, really trying to get these, especially young men, to understand that you really have to decide within yourself.
Brother Stewart.
That the mindset means a hell of a lot. I too went through, just last year, I went through a operation. I had to go back in 4 weeks later. They took a foot of my colon out. And the doctor said, you can't go out of here until you walk down the hall, walk up these steps, walk down these steps. And I got operated on Tuesday, and I said, I'm getting out of here by Friday, and I was out. But it's the mindset. The mindset is the whole combination of the mind, spiritual, the body thing. That's the whole thing that, because I mean, it may sound corny, but what the mind can perceive, the body can achieve. And one thing I know in endurance races, endurance events, your body will tell you a long time before, I need to give this up. It's your mind that keeps you going.
Yeah. And
go ahead, please.
And I would definitely say it's one of those things that you definitely said, when you put everything, even these elements, we stretch them out, it always comes down to the mind, body, and soul. And the one thing that everybody says is it always starts with your mind. Your body can wither away faster than your mind, but if you have a strong mindset, you're going to eat right, you're going to take care of your body. And it seemed like every single person here has that same mentality. I was smiling and laughing because it just seems so connected. Like Brother Dunlap, I am a martial artist as well. I competed in mixed martial arts up until 2015. I could see the way you talk. Somebody else was showing, Brother Stay said, the way you act, are you a Christian? Because that's what you're curious of. I could see it as a martial artist, how you are, how the mind can control certain things. I know Brother Monk, you may not know, your son was my line brother. We're in the same fraternity. One of my favorite people. I haven't seen him in a while, but when Brother Stevenson said that he was in a fraternity, I was like, oh, I wonder which one you were. Brother Stewart, you were in the military. My father was in the military. We're all connected in some types of way. But one thing that every single person on this panel has is a strong mindset. And with that, you can do any single thing. And that's why sharing my profession, why it touches me so well. When you ask, when's the last time you was in the school? Last year, I went back, got a doctorate degree, and focused on population health. And my specialty is in psychiatric epidemiology, because it's all about the mind. The mind is the one thing that nobody really has a solid grasp on. So you're still trying to learn. And once you have this, anything else you can do. And that's just why I really enjoyed this conversation.
And Larry, just as you were chatting, just reminded me that you and I are prostate thrivers. Brother Stewart.
What did you say, Tom?
That you and I had the radiation. Did you have prostate surgery, or did you have the radiation?
No, I had the radiation and chemo. No, I had radiation and seed implants.
Indeed, back in the day. And
that was almost 30 years ago, Tom.
Indeed. And Brother Sam just reminded me that you and I both share hipsters. I had my right hip done, and you had, was it your right or your left?
I had my left hip done.
Your left hip done. So
you know what? That was the easiest part of that entire thing. I wound up with a UTI that put me back in the hospital for 4 or 5 days.
The sepsis thing, I think.
So it threw my recovery off by almost a month.
Mm-hmm.
But the hip was the easiest part. As a matter of fact, my wife just had her hip done last Tuesday.
Mm.
So I'm the caregiver this week.
And that's so powerful, and it speaks to what Brother Monk was talking about earlier, because when I was in the hospital, the opioids made me sick.
Mm.
And what people don't know is they mess up your stomach. They constipate you, and the anesthesia. So my stomach got distended. You know, it was basically like a hard watermelon.
Mm.
And so I had to make a decision. I tell people, God told me you going on a Daniel fast impromptu. And I just drank water, and I told my family, bring me in fresh fruit. I'm not eating this food.
Yeah.
And that's how I was eventually able to get up. Was basically water and fresh fruit. So it speaks to everything you just said, especially Mr. Stevenson. I didn't even go in for that.
Mm. Mm.
You know, it was my bag.
You know, the
And
funny thing is, I
I'll
would
tell you
definitely
what,
say,
one thing that I had not spent a night in a hospital from the time I was 6 years old until 2015. And I had a very severe muscle spasm that felt like a heart attack.
Mm.
And as soon as my PCP took a picture of my chest, she sent me right across the street to the hospital to be taken care of. But that one night stay in the hospital taught me one thing. Regardless of who you are, what you go in for, you must look out for yourself.
That's for sure.
Those people may be professionals,
That's for sure.
well-meaning, but if you don't look out for yourself while you're in there, any
That's
bad
for sure.
can happen to you. Brother Stewart, I just want to say before I shut up for a while, Smiley Myers, Alonzo Myers, did pass before Greg Wright did.
He did. Okay.
Yeah, he did. Smiley had kidney problems when he was at Bucknell. So
okay, they were seniors when I was a sophomore, and
okay.
so you know, I mean, it was an all boys school, so we actually looked up to these guys. And then when they went to Bucknell with Coach Pat, with Bob Patchwell, I believe they went there. Was he the football coach there when they came there?
No, I'm trying to remember that guy's name. I can't remember the coach's name.
The reason why I say that, because we were just somebody and I went to city, but just mentioned Greg's name just the other day.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Greg was a great guy. He did recruiting for them for years. He used to stop by every now and then when he was in Pittsburgh. Yeah.
I mean, for those of you who don't know, City was the third oldest public high school in the country.
Didn't know that.
Let's hear from a few other folks. In terms of timing, I believe in this Sankofa time, and Sammy and Dante, you kind of referenced how do you center yourself in the present but still be active in the future. I like the Sankofa bird kind of symbol, which I try to remind myself where it is possible to look back, be centered, and look at the future at the same time. So Sankofa time, I try to kind of just remember that you can be integrated in terms of your vision but still keep your eye on the prize.
It's funny that you say that, because one of my businesses is the logo is a Sankofa bird. It's called Evolve Back. And I said, in order to evolve, sometimes you got to look back. And I use the Sankofa bird as well. So that's interesting.
Yeah. That Sankofa bird is my family's reunion symbol. Look back to move forward.
Yes, sir.
And what we do, we have like a griot hour where the elders sit down and tell about stories about when they were younger, just to maintain the family lineage.
And Brother Monk, you've had a number of your family has had a number of family reunions here and far.
Yes. On that note, we just had celebrated our 61st anniversary, Monk Singers anniversary, which evolved into family reunion. So we've been doing that for 61 years. We're creating another train ride. We did one pre-COVID, and whereas we'll have we call train stops. So we're stopping New Jersey, and we stop in Philly on the way to Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and then we'll do the country. And so we have a whole list of things set up for the children to learn. And my sister Pamela has written a couple books already on both sides of the family, my mom and pop side. And so it's incredible that what we as a people have done. And I was just going to say, you were saying, you know, when you guys chime in some more, I just wanted to say between us, I would like to see us create some sort of legacy per se. Of course, our children are a legacy sometimes, and you've done something great as a legacy sometimes. But I want to be intentional about us creating something together collectively to have a legacy, something that will impact for generations to come. Talking about St. Kopherberg.
Yes. I embrace that. I embrace that.
Yes.
Deontay, you work also at one of the, is it at Google? Where do you work again? I was intrigued when I looked up a little bit of your background.
So I work for Whole Foods, Whole Foods Market. I know, you know, there was the vegan special diets out there. I got a joke where I was a vegan for like 2 hours. I tried soy when I first started at Whole Foods. I tried soy yogurt for the first time. I was like, I'm going to be vegan, and I tried soy yogurt and decided in that moment that I wasn't going to be vegan. I was like, yeah, nope, I'm not going to do this. But I've been at Whole Foods now. This month it'll be 24 years. So I basically grew up there. So yeah, and now it's Whole Foods and Amazon. So and I spent most of my time doing IT work while I was there. So I've been there. I tell everybody I'm a Whole Foods fossil whenever we talk about tenure and things of that nature. So yeah, I'm very, very well aware of special diets and animal welfare. Made me highly conscientious about what actually goes into food and what's in some of these preservatives and chemicals that they put into our food. You know, just learning from the company and learning from people that are helping me kind of figure out what I was doing, learning more about the why of Whole Foods kind of helped me grow and learn about these things. It just created a whole nother awareness to food. And before working there, I worked for KFC as a cook. So there was a very stark, sharp transition to go from one to another and to learn so much about food that I didn't even think was that I couldn't even fathom until that point. And now I have this I'm not as knowledgeable as some of the people I know, but I know way more about food, nutrition, special diets, you know, chemicals, what's good for you, what's not, just by osmosis and learning from other people and just being around it all the time.
Excellent. Is it okay that we take another 5 minutes or so in terms of, I know it's dinner time or wherever you might be, but can we go for a little longer, or how do people, I don't want to impose upon everyone.
I'm probably good. For 5, I have a great granddaughter that's on her way here.
All right, let's
just started walking about 3 weeks ago, so
let's do another 5 then. And any burning questions or thoughts, or as the spirit might be moving? I have 1 or 2 things I wanted to ask, but it can wait until we do again, because we'll
I have a quick one. Just especially for cats in the men in the local area. One of the things that happened during COVID was I started going for nature walks. And I discovered a lot of places in the local area that I never paid much attention to because I was going to the gym. And when all those gyms closed down, I found a lot of places. For example, you know, Lake Wintergreen, you know, right over in Hamden, and just, you know, with people and their dogs and how quiet and peaceful that is. And also behind Eli Whitney, the museum on Whitney Avenue. Yeah, there's a whole trail that runs back there, especially if you have a dog. And so just like sharing that with people and having people understand, we take the students, we do this thing called an existential walk with the kids. And, you know, you put your phones away and you actually get a moment where you're just with your own thoughts and processing. And the students really appreciated it because they just really need to learn how to unplug. You know, as we know, you know, especially with AI and everything, you know, it's a good to, you know, I think Denzel said it, are you using the phone or is the phone using you? So it's something to be conscious of. So just for local folks, that was huge for my wellness.
Excellent. So we're going to do it again in September. Again, we'll extend the right hand of fellowship to everyone. Sam, I'm tempted to ask you to kind of share a little bit about your African-American chamber experience locally as well as nationally, because Deshaun is an entrepreneur. Larry, as he's referenced, has been an entrepreneur for some time. Gary everyone on this panel is kind of has that business spirit, but that would be maybe another show. But do you have a 2 minute soundbite on Black businesses, entrepreneurial, your involvement with the chamber?
You know, yeah, I can get it to 2.
All right.
If you are an African American entrepreneur and you have a sense of community with the African American community, it should be important to be engaged with your local African American Chamber of Commerce. Because even if there's not a lot that it can do for you, and typically chambers of commerce, they're kind of like networking, facilitation, and with ours, we also do a lot of foundational things that bring speakers in who are in business and government that can relate to things that you might want to or need to know. But also things that are foundational to entrepreneurism, such as making sure you have contacts in the legal community, understanding business concepts, bringing experts in to teach you what the best means of developing your elevator pitch is, you know, those kinds of things. So I am a big proponent of African American chambers. Some chambers are more aggressive in terms of trying to go out and get business for their members. Ours was never that one. Ours was one to protect opportunity in American business. Because I was there at the founding. As a matter of fact, I was the first president. Our entire thing at that point in time was to beat back an attempt by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to eliminate certain programs that were beneficial to African businesses. So, and we were successful ultimately. You know, it took a lot of trips to the state capitol, took a lot of lobbying with a lot of representatives, but ultimately we were able to beat that back. So if you have an opportunity to engage with your local one, please do. You guys sound like any of you who might be entrepreneurs would be able to help guide your chamber.
Excellent. Excellent.
That it may need to be going if it's not already doing that.
Okay.
Tom, if I may add that I am the chairperson of the Black Business Alliance in the state of Connecticut, and have been for the last 5, which essentially is essentially a chamber of commerce for African American businesses. Sam, and I've been the chairman for the last 5 years, and I'll be the chairman for another couple of months.
I hear you. Well,
he's not going away. He's not going away. He's just passing the baton. So
that's right. I'll still be on the board, but it's time for new blood to come in.
Well, that's what I keep telling our board members. I've been the chairman of our chamber's board since 2006. And it's well past time to hand the baton to Shakari. Yeah. Let her finish off the race.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I want to thank everyone. In terms of our September meeting, I'm going to send out the email and to get some suggestions for folks on what the topic should be for September. Deshaun was really tremendous to kind of give me 4 or 5 suggestions for today's theme. But I want to open it up for what might be on people's spirit about what we can discuss in September, in October and November, and also to keep in mind Gary's affirmation and vision about what legacy means, not only just boring infrastructure, but a vibrant way of commuting on a regular basis and having something that is generational in its impact. So I just want to thank everybody. If that's okay, we're going to kind of sign off and we'll do it again.
All right, guys. It's really good seeing
Take
you
care,
guys.
fellas.
Yeah,
Really enjoyed it talking
Take
to
care,
y'all.
all.
Yes.
Have a good
Awesome.
one.
Take care.
Be
Have a
safe.
good one.
Yes.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
guys.
All right,
All right.
Fred.
God bless.
All
Good
right.
night.
As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission. I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain. Keep on working, open curtains, haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah.
You're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show on WNHH LP 103.5 FM, your home for community radio.